Welcome back. I'm now driving along the A27 between Brighton and Eastbourne, and just felt like going out for a drive, having finished work a bit early. It's a nice day, no rain unlike yesterday, which was appalling weather. Nothing better to do. Well, I'm sure I've got plenty of better things to do, but I've got 70 miles range left. I've got 4 blobs on the battery gauge, and I have so far today driven 76.4 miles at an average of 3.7 miles per kilowatt. Well, we're approaching Polegate bypass. This is the queue for the traffic lights. So 600 yards away, and then I'll go up the A22 and cut across country home, and hopefully I'll make it home without running out of charge. I reckon I should be able to make it without any problems at all. I really like the feel of the brakes on this car compared to other electric cars I've had. These ones feel nice and positive and not at all woolly. Maybe that's because there is no regenerative braking when the brake pedal is pushed. I haven't actually worked that one out.
A27 towards London, then cross the roundabout, second exit, A22 towards Hailsham.
Road surface isn't great around here. Most of the time I've been pootling along at about sort of 50 to 60 miles an hour, depending on the traffic and the roads. So after 5,000 miles, what do I think of the car? Well, I still enjoy driving it, more so than I did when I first had it. So comfort-wise, it's very good. I don't think the seats hold you very good. There's not a great deal of support when you're going around bends. I mean, I know it's not a sports car or anything like that, but the seats definitely don't have the support that even the Leaf had. I had a look at an HS earlier on today, and the seats looked as if they had a bit more side support, which would be better. I was also very impressed with the quality of the HS actually, and there were some neat things on there which I wish the ZS had, like the integrated handles and lights to the back. Now, fitting those probably would have a warranty implication to the interior electrics, so I'm unsure whether to fit those or not at the moment. It also had some little lights just above the front visors, so you could see in the dark, which was a nice little touch. And the rear seat bench has 3 headrests, and it's got an interesting locking mechanism so that when you unlock it at the top, unlike the tabs that you pull up on this car, on the ZS, it's got a proper fixing lever which looks much better. And so you lift that up and then you pivot the seat forward, and then to get it back up you have to lift the lever back up on the top of the seat, so it's actually locked in position, which is really good. And it's also a lot flatter platform than the ZS. That was really nice. And it also had a centre armrest, and the model I looked at, which was probably the exclusive, had cup holders and a little cubby hole in the armrest as well, all finished off with chrome trim. It looked really smart. Little things like that would have just made the ZS in the back, having lights, a centre armrest and the third headrest in the back, and a proper decent clip method rather than just pulling up a tab at the back. And that is just cheap. But the ZS is cheap compared to the HS, and the HS I think is also a bit of a bigger car. But enough about the HS. I'm here talking about the ZS. I use TomTom on my iPhone 11 Pro, and I'm using it at the same time as I'm videoing this via CarPlay. So I have the TomTom on my centre console, and it works very well. The heating In rainy, wet weather, I find the best setting is 1 or 2 blobs of red and 3 speeds on the fan, 3 blobs on the fan, and having the air conditioning on, and that keeps the car nice and demisted. Even in the really heavy rain we had yesterday, I was not suffering at all from any misting up. As I said previously, the steering feel has improved slightly with the improved stiffness of the front shock absorbers with the increased diameter of the rods, and that makes the car feel a lot better. And you can definitely feel more of the road surface. And roundabouts are more fun now. I'm impressed with the performance of the MG. It's pretty quick accelerating, not quite as quick as the Leaf as I've mentioned before, but it still responds well. You can hear that accelerating. Okay, I've just set TomTom up to take me home. It'll take me straight up the A22. But I'm not going to go straight up the A22, I'm going to go and cut through Ashdown Forest, or climb up over it. It's quite a big climb, but I should have enough range. I've done 90 miles now, and my range left to empty is 57 miles. And I have 36 miles to go to get home, plus a little bit more going via Ashdown Forest. I should have plenty of miles to get me home. But it will be quite low when I do get home.
400 yards, cross the roundabout, second exit, A22.
It does feel quite easy to position the car in the right place in the road, and I can get quite close to the curbs
Cross the
without
roundabout, second exit, A22.
feeling that I'm going to hit them. Cyclist in front. Okay, I'll have to take it gently round this roundabout. Okay. 12-volt battery is showing 14 volts. I'm now down to 3 blobs on the battery gauge. I started the day with 130 miles on the GOM, and I've been driving very gently today, and I've got a lot more than that at the moment. 54 miles range left, 94 miles. So I make that 148 miles in total that I can drive on this charge, which is very good. But that will change, because in a few minutes I'm going to be turning off the A22, which is relatively level, and heading up into Ashdown Forest. And that's a good old climb, as I mentioned earlier.
After 500 yards, go right on the roundabout, second exit, B2026, Chuckhatch Road, then turn left.
Okay, sat-nav's taking me the route I want to go. That's great, so I have got 31 miles left to go.
Go right on the roundabout, second exit, B2026, Chuckhatch
52.
Road, then turn left.
And 52 miles. So I'm now driving through Ashdown Forest, bottom end, and go up through all the way up to the top. We're climbing now, using between 20, nearly 30%. Speed is 40 miles an hour. Starting to see the miles tumbling down. Now 49 miles, with 29 left to go. A van pulled out in front of me at a staggered junction. That's what caused that, as I slowed down. It seems to be overtly sensitive, that. I think I can adjust that in the settings. range. Current journey 99.9 miles, range to empty 46. I've got 26 miles left to go, and because of all that climbing, it's gone down to 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Okay, we're now going to head off back home, having stopped for a few minutes at the top of Ashdown Forest. Not so much a forest, but wide expanse of open area. But I really like this area. So we're setting off back home with 33-mile range.
Turn right, Kitts Hill.
And 27 miles left to go. And as we're at the top, we've got all the way to go down now. So let's see what the range does. It was 147 miles before I turned off the car, and it's been a beautiful day, as you can see outside. Today's temperatures, it's probably around 8 or 9 degrees. It's still quite nippy out, despite the sun. Miles per kilowatt hour is back up to 3.7 now that we're going back downhill. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a little screen rattle or dashboard rattle. I'm not quite sure which it is. I'll get it looked at shortly. Hopefully there'll be some software updates to stop the car from bonging so much and improve the startup sequence. The startup sequence can be improved by just clipping in the rear seat belts and making sure that your front seat belt is clipped in before you move off. Okay, slow down for a cyclist. Another cyclist stopped up ahead, waiting for his mate probably. So if you have the seat belts clipped in and you're clipped in, the car will get to the digital speed within 25 seconds of you turning the car on. Whereas if you leave all the seat belts disconnected, it will take 2 minutes. Going past Pooh Corner, AA Milne. Still showing 33 miles of range. And we have 23 miles left to go.
Hartfield Road.
Okay, I'm in Regen 1. I'm going to be braking in a second, so because I'm getting to a stagger junction. Let's just see what the regen is like.
Turn left, A264. Then turn right, B2026, Hartfield Road.
The brakes probably do add some regen. 20 miles left, 31 range left. On these gently rolling roads, KERS 1 is not quite enough. KERS 2 is slightly better. Most of the time I use 3 because 1, I can't be bothered to change it, and 2, if you feather the throttle it doesn't really make any difference which level you're in. You can produce the effects of 1 in level 3 by just not taking your foot off the throttle all the way. And I'm going into 3 now. Traffic has slowed down a bit, which is good for economy, and we're going down the hill. So we've been in the charge section on the power meter for a while. No, we've got a little bit of a puddle coming up. better for the economy. Back roads, more fun. Rather than the boring A roads following traffic all the time. I must say I do spend rather a lot of time on unclassified roads, which is one of the reasons why I struggle to keep the car clean. It's like when I turned off the A22, which was a nice, perfectly dry road. As soon as I went off onto the road to Chuck House Lane, I think it was, dirty great big puddles everywhere. Water coming off the Ashdown Forest. Okay, rolling 30-mile-an-hour start. Up to 60. I've now done 116 miles, got 27 miles left range and 10 miles to get home, and I've got 16% hill to get up, that's about a mile long, and then it's level and downhill for the rest of the way home. And this is where it really kicks up now. One of the gentler hills around us, that's 16%. I'm using about 50% power to get up it as well, just to stay at the speed limit. So it's all very well people are saying, oh, you've got to keep the power to below 20%. It's impossible around here with the hills. Okay, now we're in a national speed limit. And for the moment, there's nobody in front of me. At the top of the North Downs, what is escaping Croydon. I'm heading towards it. The road surface is pretty dire. The suspension is dealing with it beautifully. And because it's firmer, it gives me more confidence in the bends. Okay, now we're catching up with traffic. So just very gently ease off the throttle. Simulating curves 1 or coasting where possible. 24 miles of range left still. That was the conditional speed limit warning saying that I was going faster than the 30 that I put in to the system because I hadn't slowed down quick enough. So if you overspeed in manual speed setting, it will bong at you. So we're back home now. I'm on 5,360 miles. I've got 21 miles range left, so I've driven 127.3 miles at 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. I've been driving for 3 hours and 50 minutes at an average speed of 33 miles an hour. So that's real world range. Okay, I've been keeping my speed down to 60 miles an hour most of the time. Or 50s, depending on the speed limit. I've certainly not been driving at the speed limits all the time on the motorway. It's just been fairly eco driving because it is still cold, but with 20 miles range left, that is giving me about 148 mile range in this weather, that's pretty good, especially when I only started off with 137. So that will be all for today. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.